All right, guys, welcome to How to Human Day 3. We are still talking about living alone, and today we're just talking about a whole bunch of random things. No real good theme. So, first things first, job hunting. Couple of tips. Enlist the help of your social network. Target companies directly. Check their websites. Google jobs in your sector. Use your school's career center while you're still at school or even as an alumni. And get yourself out there. Network, network, network. There are networking events in most fields, but also just like meeting people, doing things, have a hobby, can be a good way to find places that are hiring. You are curious about this, there is a whole big page about this in the How to Human packet on the Moodle Blackboard thing, but I am not going to go super in depth on it here because there are so many things going on in today's presentation. Once you're applying for application advice, this comes from Claire Waite, who was a student with me in grad school, and she gave a really, really great talk about job application at a paper conference that I attended. First things first, don't see job hunting as a cumulative project. It's not like you have this pile of job applications. Each application is its own thing. You only need one job. The trick to interviewing is to be both interested and interesting, because the interviewers are really just looking to find someone they can work with every day. Like, they're just looking for a colleague. There are a couple of different interviewing styles. There is the more formal interrogative. I'm sitting on the other side of the desk. I'm asking you questions. You're answering. There are also more conversational. There is very flexible, but they're just different ways of getting information from you. One is not better than the other. They're asking you questions because they want to know the answers. They liked your resume or they wouldn't have invited you to the interview. They just want you to prove to them that you would be good at the job. All you have to do now is support what you've told them. Like I said, they've liked your application. You just have to keep showing them the same things. You don't have to have new things. Just prove to them that what you said in the application was true. And don't be afraid to apply for a lower level job in a place where there's potential for growth. Get your foot in the door. And being perhaps a little overqualified for the job might work in your favor if there's competition. Like, if you're the most qualified person for the job, then probably you'll be the one that gets hired. Also, don't be afraid to apply for a job where you don't actually qualify for all of the things, and then prove to them that you learn fast and you can pick up the skills that you don't have, and you have other things that would be useful to you in the job. That can get you there as well. Be sure to tailor your cover letters for every interview. Don't just use a generic cover letter. Show them how the skills you've picked up along the way will directly apply to the job they want you to do. And prove that you have transferable skills. Show them how they will transfer to that specific job. All right. I feel like many of you know this, but enough people have not known this that I feel like I need to show you. When you are sending an actual snail mail letter, the address should look like this. The return address is you, your name, address, city, state, zip code. The recipient's full name, their address, and city, state, and zip code goes big on the front so that it gets where it's going. And of course, it has to have a stamp. Right? Right. Opposite end of snail mail, if you are sending an email, couple of terms that I think you guys think you know what they mean, but maybe don't. If you are CCing someone, you are sending them a carbon copy. So it is to the person that you're sending it to, but you want other people to also see it because it's an FYI. You're either sending it to you're CCing the rest of your team so they know what you're doing, or you're CCing your supervisor so they know what's going on, things like that. If you are going to BCC someone, it's a blind carbon copy and it's going to that person, but nobody else on the email knows that they got it. So if I'm sending it to a client and I'm CCing my team and I'm BCCing my boss, nobody on that email except me knows that my boss got a copy. Carbon copy comes from a million years ago in the office industry. There used to be a thing called carbon paper. And it was a couple of sheets of paper stuck together, and you wrote on the top one and the bottom ones basically smudged in the same pattern that you wrote on. So you could then rip them apart, and somebody could keep the original, and somebody could keep the carbon paper copy, and you would have two copies of the same document with signatures and stuff on it. They used to make receipts and things out of that. And so it's just sending an extra copy to other people. Forward, you, I think, know what that is. You get an email, you're like, this is interesting, but it doesn't matter to me. But you know who would really like this? This other person. You will just forward it to them. You can add a message to yourself. You can say, hey, I saw this and I thought you might be interested in it. Or you could just forward it without any context at all. Check the to field of the email you received before you forward it to someone. They may have gotten it already. I frequently get emails forwarded to me that had already been sent to me directly, and I'm just like, why did you do that? Why? So don't be that person. RE does not actually mean reply. It means regarding. So if I send you an email that's like tuna fish sandwiches, you would reply to me saying, regarding tuna fish sandwiches, I'm really not interested because they make my house smell weird. So you could send an email with RE in the subject that's not a direct reply to an email. I have sent emails with the subject line regarding our conversation yesterday, because I spoke with them in person and wanted to follow up by email. There's a really important distinction when you're in an email program. You can reply, and you can reply all. If you click reply, it only goes back to the person who sent it to you. If you click reply all, it goes to everyone on the email chain. Use good judgment of when you reply all. Please. Please. So, once you have filled out the to and subject line of your email, what does your email look like? First, you want to have a salutation. Dear so-and-so, good afternoon, hello, to whom it may concern, like whatever your salutation is. Probably you're going to start by thanking them, particularly if it's a client. Thank you for your time. Thanks for meeting with me yesterday, whatever. State the purpose of your email. Add any closing remarks and end with a closing salutation, like sincerely or regards or best. I sign my emails with cheers, but that's weird and British. So Americans might think you're strange if you do that. Regards is always a good one. Sincerely is sort of the standard. Whatever. You know what to do. I don't know if this is ever going to be useful to you. Maybe, maybe not. But if you are ever at a fancy dinner and you are looking at your place setting going, oh my god, what do I do with all of this silverware? Or why do I have so many cups? This is why. You always just, with silverware, you have so many. Every course you start at the outside. And so soup will be the first course on this particular place setting. So if you start with the soup spoon, then you will be brought salad, so you use your salad fork. And then you will have dinner, and you will use your dinner fork and spoon. If there's a fish course, then you'll need the fish knife, blah, 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 blah. But it's easy. Just start from the outside and work in. The other thing that gets really complicated, even at some not that fancy restaurants, is whose plate and whose cup belongs to you when there's a plate and a cup at the top of every, like, which one is mine? And there's a quick and easy way to do this. If you make a circle with your forefinger and thumb and extend the other finger straight up, your left hand makes a B and your right hand makes a D because your bread plate is on your left and your drink is on your right. I explained that to complete grown-ups at a fancy dinner at my roommate's Christmas dinner. We were sitting around at the table and no one wanted to touch anything. And one of the girls finally, one of the women, grown women who work with my roommate, was like, I don't know which cup is mine. And I was like, aha, fun fact, and explained to them about the circles. And they were like, that's amazing. So, useful skill you can show off to someone. And you don't steal other people's cups. If you would like to travel, you need a passport if you are planning to leave this country. Super easy to get one. I mean, sort of. You have to fill out a really fiddly bit of paperwork and mail things, which is kind of terrifying. But there's a form. It's the DS-11 application for U.S. passport on the State Department website. You just do it. Don't sign it. Fill it out, though. You will sign it at the facility. Print the application if you filled it out digitally, or print it and fill it out by hand. You need a passport photo. It should be 2" by 2". It should be in color. You should not be smiling. You will need to take your birth certificate and a government-issued photo ID, probably your driver's license or a state ID. You need to copy all of the things. Copy the application, copy the birth certificate, copy the photo ID, and then find your facility at that place, make an appointment, and go apply for your passport. And then follow the directions that the human beings at the facility give you. Very straightforward. Time-consuming and obnoxious, but straightforward. Once you are traveling, some useful tips from someone who has traveled a whole lot all over the place. 1. Book your airplane flights through comparison sites. They are always cheaper. Make a plan before you go, and a backup plan. But do not plan every hour of every day. Have a plan, and also leave yourself some unscheduled time to see what comes up, to let yourself wander, to see things that, you weren't expecting. You should always book your housing in advance, and if you're doing particular, specific excursions, you want to go whitewater rafting, you want to go ziplining, you want to take a bus tour of the surrounding countryside, those kinds of things, probably book those in advance. Before you make a plan and book things, talk to people who've been there. Among your friends or on review sites, those kinds of things, it's useful. Limit the electronics you take with you. Anywhere outside of the US is going to have a slightly different kind of electrical outlet, so you're going to need converters. So you take a thing, and your electronic plugs into the thing, and then that goes into the wall. Other countries also use different voltages of electricity, and so traveling with electronic appliances that have heating elements is a terrible idea. This is mostly hair dryers, straighteners. Don't work very well because you're either traveling to a country that has a much lower voltage in their outlets, and so the hair dryer and straightener don't actually get hot enough, or you're traveling somewhere that has a much higher voltage and your hair dryer turns into a flamethrower and you blow a fuse and black out your entire hotel, I say, as someone who has been in a hotel when that happened because of someone's hair dryer. If you're staying in a hotel, they're going to have hair dryers. A lot of Airbnbs are now too, because this is a well-known fact that that's not a good idea. And also I say limited electronics just because you're not there to be on your computer. You're not there to play on your phone. You're there to, travel and see things. So you don't need to take a whole bunch of electronics. Check your attitude at the door. You're traveling, you're learning things. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. Be curious, be adventurous. Don't be judgmental. Don't think this is weird. Let it happen to you. Be excited about it. Before you go, check with your doctor to make sure you're healthy. Check with your insurance to make sure it's going to work abroad. Make sure you have the vaccinations required to go to that country. Make sure there aren't health advisories. There are certain parts of the year that it's not good to travel to certain tropical countries because you might get malaria. Those kinds of things. Register with the State Department or your embassy so that they know you're abroad. Keep copies of your passport in a different pocket than you keep your actual passport. So your actual passport might be in a secret pocket in your purse, but you have a copy of it in your suitcase. Leave a copy of it at home with someone else. Also, leave the contact information of your hotel, your airline, your itinerary, with the confirm numbers and all of those things with someone at home as well. Please tell your bank that you will be abroad, because if you don't, you will get there and your cards will not work because they will think someone has stolen your identity. Yes, I speak with a voice of experience. It's useful to convert some money ahead of time, particularly if you're going somewhere easy like Europe where you just convert to the euro. So you have cash on hand when you arrive. and know what the conversion rate is. Maybe not exactly, like you don't need to know it out 8 decimal places, but you should know roughly um, the conversion rate from the dollar to whatever currency of the country that you're in, so that when you're looking at prices, you recognize how much things actually cost, so you know if you're getting value. It's useful to have at least one change of clothes in your carry-on so that you have clothes to put on in case your luggage gets lost or takes an extra day or two to get to you. I also say, with the voice of experience of having traveled with someone whose luggage took a week to catch up to us on our tour of Italy and was washing the same pair of clothes in the sink every night. Um, know ahead of time your airline's baggage policy and fee. Some airlines will let you have one checked baggage free. Some you have to pay for all checked baggage. Um, all of those kinds of things. Make a budget ahead of time. Know how much money you have to spend. Know who you're bringing souvenirs back for so that you can budget that. Have a plan of how much money you're going to spend on food a day, those kinds of things. As you're packing, if you think to yourself, do I need this? The answer is probably no. Pack everything you think you need and then take half of it out. If you're sitting looking at your bag thinking, oh, I'll do this in the hotel in the evening, leave that at home. You won't need it. One, you should be doing something fun in the evening. You're traveling, you are in a foreign country, do something cool, hang out at a bar, chat with the locals, go to a movie, or you'll be asleep. That has happened to me. I've traveled, I've rolled into my new destination, got to my hotel, checked in, and collapsed face first in bed and gone to sleep. You won't need things to do in the hotel, I promise. And then finally, with your suitcase, tie something big and obvious and noticeable and unique around the handle of your luggage. It will make the baggage claim so much better. Everyone has black rolling bags, literally everyone. But if yours has a giant magenta bow on it, you will know it's yours. Also, travel does not need to be stylish. Wear comfy shoes. All of your shoes that you take traveling should be comfy. Like, it doesn't even matter. No one's looking at your feet. You will thank me. Wear comfy shoes. All right, if you are looking for a cell phone plan because you are getting off of your parents, probably prioritize network coverage. Figure out where you get coverage, where they work, where it is. The cheapest plan in the world is not useful if you can't make a phone call out of your own living room. You also want to consider data usage. How much do you surf the internet or use apps on your phone? It might be worth the extra amount to get unlimited data. Might not. Up to you. Figure out how much data you use. That's a report that can be pulled from your parent cell phone plan right now to see how much data you as a user use per month. Should be able to tell you that. If the commercial looks really good and they're like, get all of this cool stuff, read the fine print. And don't use those to make your decisions. There are good comparison sites that are not affiliated with one of the companies, so you can actually break down and look at what the things are and figure out what it is that you're looking for. Like I said, is it data? Is it network coverage? Like, what are the priorities? And if your credit score is not good enough that you don't qualify for a good rate on a cell phone plan, you could get a pre-planned, like a prepaid, one of the pay-as-you-go phones. That's what they're called, where you just pay for the data that you use or the phone minutes that you use. Jury duty. Everybody over the age of 18 is possible to serve on a jury. That's one of the great things about our country. You get tried by a jury of your peers. Well, congratulations, you're a peer. Here's how it works, essentially. You get a card in the mail that tells you you've been summoned for jury duty and you have to report to the courthouse at 8 a.m. on Monday. 2 weeks out is when I got my card. If you are active duty, over 70, the sole guardian of a child under 12 or someone over 70, and serving your jury duty would leave them without care, or if you are a student of a secondary school, you do not have to serve. And it tells you how to claim the exemption on the card. I notified my employer that I had been summoned for jury duty, and I, as a teacher, have to put in for a substitute. However it works at your job that you take days off, they are legally obliged to let you take the day off for jury duty without any repercussion. You have to serve if you are summoned. Your job cannot stop you. I reported to the courthouse at 8 a.m. on Monday morning when they told me to. I signed in. There was a very short survey that I had to fill out. I don't now remember what the questions were, but it was super short. I think it was 2 questions. And then I sat in a big room and I read a book. I had a number, and periodically someone would come in and say, I need your numbers X to Y to report to this room. My number never got called. I sat in the room all day. They gave me a lunch break. I ate lunch. I came back and continued sitting in the room. I went home that evening, and they said, call after 6 p.m. to see if I needed to report back in the morning. It was an automated number. After 6 p.m., I called back, and I did not have to report back on Tuesday. If they had said, come back on Tuesday, I would have put in for a sub again and reported back on Tuesday and sat in a room. If at any moment they had called my number, when they had said X to Y, come, and I had been in that group, I would have gone to the other room, and lawyers would have talked to me about opinions on things. They would ask me general questions, and they would either then decide if they wanted me on a jury or not. Lawyers are allowed to turn away a certain number of people. So they bring in a big group of people, like 20 people for a jury of 12, and they talk to them all. And the defendant's lawyer and the prosecution lawyer are both allowed to say, don't want that person, don't want that person. And then whoever is left then serves on the jury for the trial. If you have questions about serving on a jury for a trial, McCusker got to do that, and it was apparently super awesome. I've never gotten to be on a jury. But if you get called to be on a jury, you then have to be on the jury for however long it takes. And again, your employer can't do anything about it. You just roll with it. You may actually remember when that happened to McCusker. I'm pretty sure, yep, that's the end of what we're talking about today. Tune in next time for day 1 of money. Don't forget that your reflection journal exists and that you need to be doing them about each of the videos. Also, don't forget that the How to Human packet exists in the Moodle Blackboard thing, where you can look at this text to your heart's content and see some more in-depth stuff about some of the stuff I glossed over. I'll see you around.